Hey, it's 6 o'clock, and I'd like to call the monthly meeting of the Permanent Building Committee to order on January 22nd of 2024. Wish everybody a Happy New Year. I hope it's going better for you than it has for me. I guess that's the only snide comments I have. What's first?
Minutes.
Approval of the minutes. They were online. I think they were online early, so
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
all those in favor, raise your hand, please. Thank you. Passed unanimously. Next is correspondence and mail. I haven't got much mail. I've had a lot of emails, but correspondence, I don't think I've had any, so we'll leave it at none. My report, sit down and relax, it's going to be long. While doing my report for the, for the town report, each committee in town has to make a submission. While doing that, I got very frustrated at doing dates and everything else. So I decided that it would behoove me to try to push the National Grid polls that we've been waiting for. And every time we went to a construction meeting, which I go to every Tuesday, it's, yeah, we're doing it, we're working on it, we're doing it, we're working on it, we're doing it, we're working on it. Well, while doing my report, to get it in a timely manner, I realized that one of the rumors that was going around the construction meeting was it would take 20 weeks to get a transformer for the senior center. And I'm looking at the calendar and looking at today's date going, we want to be done, and I'm setting these dates, and they're probably absolutely wrong, but they're longer than they should be, at the senior center being done for Memorial Day and the town hall being done for 4th of July. Well, between now and Memorial Day, I think is less than 20 weeks. And we have to try the power out in the building before we can get in the building. So it didn't make sense, even on the day I was doing it, that, you know, if we don't have the poles within a couple of weeks, we're gonna be way behind in construction and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I decided on my own, I ski at Blue Hills on Monday nights. I know nobody really cares, but I networked with 3 or 4 people there. One person who was an electrician that seemed to know a VP at National Grid, who I'm a great believer in networking with people and trying to push people a little bit more than I've got to use the term the last week, playing hardball versus playing softball. And everybody I've dealt with so far wants to play softball, and the grass on the field seems to be growing up and we're getting lost in the weeds. So I connected with this I connected with like 3 people, but I connected with this one person who I referred to Steve. Then Tuesday we had the building committee, the construction committee meetings, which Steve will report on, I hope. If he doesn't, I'll make an addendum at the end about what I thought was important. Wednesday, I went to the senior men's breakfast. I tried networking there and ran into 2 or 3 other people to network with. And I also called Representative Howard after the breakfast. Thursday night, I decided to use a different type of game plan. So Thursday night, I went to the select board meeting and tried to, as one select board member put it, hold National Grid hostage. They were putting a telephone pole on Pine Street, and I wanted the select board to table it until they put a couple of poles up on Mansfield Ave so that we can get the power going, but I was not successful, which I was somewhat disappointed, but they had a good point that I guess it didn't look politically correct to hold National Grid hostage, although my next question to them was, well, if we do, what do they do? What are they gonna do to us? If they can't put up any more poles till they put up the ones, and if some people are wondering exactly what was holding it up, it was a whole bunch of paperwork. Every time we asked a question, somebody said, well, this permit wasn't in, you didn't have this permit in. Well, I fully trust Vertex and Stephen that in May, I'm saying May, he probably did, all the right permits were put in. All the right paperwork was put in. But as we all know, in this day and age, everything should be on a list in computers, except at my house. I use the example that all these permit applications were sitting on somebody's desk. That person either got fired, promoted, or it's at the bottom of the pile and they can't find it. So in the last, I would say 3 weeks, Steve has reapplied, and the town has reapplied, and I expressed my frustration to the select board and Representative Howitt. So I believe it was Friday morning, I ended up spending 5 hours on the phone with different people getting the results of my networking. For some reason, National Grid decided sometime between 7 o'clock Thursday night and 6 o'clock Friday morning, they sent an email to the town manager that everything was all set. They wanted a hearing with the select board, which will delay everything 2 more weeks because they meet every 2 weeks to get a permit for the telephone poles. So I felt I was a guy running around saying the sky is falling, and everybody else is running around going, don't worry about it, just put up an umbrella, don't worry about it. Well, I spent like 22 hours last week on just the telephone poles. I felt I was the OPM instead of Stephen. And to top it all off, Saturday night, I got a call from the Attleboro Sun about supply chain issues, and he specifically mentioned the telephone poles, and I said, I don't think there's any supply chain issues, but I got the feeling he was doing an article on supply chain issues. I did mention that we were having trouble with the generator, not the transformer, the generator at the senior center, that they told us when we first started this, God knows when, it would be at least 50 weeks. So I don't know where we are in that, and I don't really care, but I did mention that to him, that that's probably the only supply chain issue that I have. I also gave him Steve's telephone number so that I did not expound on the telephone poles or that whole problem, even though I had the ear of the newspaper. So we will see what's in the paper. But I just want the townspeople to know that myself and the board and the OPM and the town manager and the select board, who 2 or 3 of them actually walked up to me after the meeting, supporting me, saying, you know, we're sorry we couldn't, you know, hold the polls hostage or anything else, but, you know, we'll try to work this out. And then Representative Howitt, because he's also chairman of the Utilities Committee, seemed to put a little pressure on. So to me, I've always said we're all a team, we're all working together. I may be the fuse at the end of the dynamite, but, you know, I may be the dynamite too, but, you know, somebody's got to light a fuse under some of these people, and I just felt I should do it. And hopefully, Thursday night, Friday morning, I'm going to be sitting on the site at 6 o'clock in the morning, waiting for National Grid to be there, which they probably won't. Also at the town meeting, I pigeonholed Steve from National Grid. I don't know if he got back to the town manager, but he was supposed to get back to him Friday morning. But he is well aware of our, at least my frustration and the town's frustration on delaying this project. As far, it hasn't delayed it yet, but I'm just saying the sky is falling. It may not, you know, and hopefully it doesn't, but.
Squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Hmm?
Squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Let's hope so. So that's my week in review, which was a pain in the neck, and that's all I seem to have. Oh, I did get a call from Brian concerned about the ice on the roof and the freezing and the temperature. I did sit in on a construction meeting on Tuesday with the roofer. I explained to him our concern, especially in the town of Norton. We do not have a good history with roofs on new buildings, although most of them were flat, but, and these aren't, but I said, you know, it's a very touchy subject in this town because after like 5 or 6 years, the school department, who had most of the buildings, come back and want more money to fix a new roof. To me, it's still new. I mean, when I buy shingles for my house, it's supposed to last 15 to 20 years, and most people get 15 to 20 years out of it. So the roofer was, answered the questions. He says, you know, yeah, we understand, we know what the manufacturer's warranties are, but roofing still goes on in New England during the winter. We just have to make sure we have the right temperature and the right, and so he's aware of it. So I think that would, hopefully that answered Brian's question, and I'm done.
It's also the caulking, waterproofing, damp preventing that's got adhesive. Usually can't go on out under 40 degrees unless you pay a premium.
At this point in the game, I felt very confident with this roofer. I mean, I'm only an amateur and he's the paid professional, but he seemed to have the answers right away. He seemed somewhat concerned. So, you know, we have to put our faith in the subcontractors that they know what they're doing. And, you know, I don't like the fact that people say, well, there's a warranty. No, I don't want to use the warranty. I want the building to be useful until the day I die, which will be in 50 years. So. Other than that,
Very optimistic.
I'm all set. What's next? Steve, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. As usual, I will start with construction progress for the senior center. So since our last meeting, which was on December 18th, they have continued the interior framing punch list. They continue plumbing, HVAC, fire protection, and electrical rough-ins. They've recently started the spray foam insulation, and then we are keeping tabs on temperature because there are temperature limitations on the spray foam for the surface that it's applied to. Right now because of the cold temperatures, we're not doing the walls, but we're doing the underside of the roof, because that is both insulated and there's temporary heat in the building. They started the site lighting. They've installed the building perimeter downspout drainage. At this point, Seaver is about 50% complete through December 2023. And we did receive, or National Grid, not us, but National Grid did receive their Mass DOT permit on Friday the 19th. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that whole permitting in a future slide. Construction project photo documentation. I'll go through this quickly. The first couple photos, just some of the HVAC equipment that is located up in the attic space, which is solely reserved for mechanical equipment. Next two photos are some of the rough-ins for the electrician, the wiring in the electric room, and some wiring rough in the wall. Next photo on the left, again, is just some above ceiling utility rough-ins that are in the corridor. This is adjacent to the administration area. Picture on the right is poly protection for some of the equipment that's installed to keep it from being affected by the spray foam insulation. Next photo, again on the left, is some of the utilities that are up in the ceiling space. Rough ends, you've got fire protection, electrical, there's some heat pipe there. And the photo on the right is they were able to get, even this was January 15th, some exterior work done for some of the conduit for the site lighting. There's a pull box that's located at the front of the building that everything's coming into. The scheduled look ahead for the senior center. They had some back-ordered siding that they're waiting for, so they want to complete the siding and the trim installation. And part of that is at the front entry. They're going to continue with their framing punch list, continue with the concrete punch list, continue with the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection rough ends, continue the building insulation, and that will get them to the point where they're going to start sheetrock. They did also want to pour concrete for the front entry steps, the side service area, and the exterior pads. Obviously, that will be weather and temperature permitting. I want to continue the septic system, which they put in a number of the structures, but they haven't started the field yet, except for some rough cuts. And then continue the underground site utilities, which includes the power, telecom, duct bank, site lighting, and then some additional drainage. Any questions about progress or schedule look ahead?
I have one question. So I guess they've given up on paving for the spring, huh?
At this point, I would say yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Their rationale was because of the lateness, and also, if you remember the site pre-construction, there was a pretty big driveway that
Yeah,
was in front of the previous house, and they thought that was solid enough for them to use during the winter time.
Yeah, they didn't remove all of that bituminous, so they do have a pad to work off of.
I'm only concerned it could be a wet spring and it just pushes it off, that's all.
Right.
But that's their risk.
It is. So other issues that we've talked about in the past and some new things. Mold remediation, we did speak about this at the last meeting. We did get some clearance tests. There's going to be a discussion between the consultant and Seaver's certified industrial hygienist to make sure we got a final clearance report. Spoke about that in detail last week. Seaver has more personnel changes. The project manager / site superintendent that we had in place as of our last meeting left Seaver as of the 8th of January, as did their senior project manager, project executive. So they lost 2 people. They had brought in a new senior project manager who was playing catch up, and now we do have a new site superintendent, and they've also assigned a general super / operation manager to spend time on the project because they know that they don't want to lose any more time, but these guys really had no history on the project, so they're catching up on back history while moving forward. Obviously, we'll help them as much as we can, and they are making a good attempt at cleaning up some of the loose ends that were left by the previous group. For example, they've established a spreadsheet that shows all the deficiencies on the framing and the structural that we've been carrying in the meeting minutes into one table so that they can get them checked off. Essentially, they're doing their self-punch list based on field observation reports from the architect, structural engineer, the testing agency, and whatever we found during our various walkthroughs.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
I know you don't want to. Who had their hand up?
Me.
You first.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to just know on the remediation for the mold, how much, we talked about it before, you talked about it before, and how much mold is there? And where is it?
It's gone now.
It's gone.
They brought in a hygienist and they brought in a contractor who went through the entire building. Then they brought the hygienist back, and then we had GZA, who is the hazardous materials consultant under DBBW, come in and do his inspection
Sort of as
for,
a peer review.
yeah, a third-party look. And that's no charge to the town, that's a back charge to the contractor.
To answer your question
Thank you.
directly,
Yes, thank you.
there was probably 2 panels, 4-foot wide panels in the roof, and miscellaneous other places. And there was some water seepage up because of water in the building, going up some of the framing. But I personally observed that they scraped down, they scrape the mold off first, however they do it, sander, grinder, whatever, and you could visibly see where they went up 4 feet on the walls. You could visibly see where they went around and actually removed the mold before they sprayed some kind of chemical over everything.
Right.
And Ed and everybody, I mean, we have, like I've said before, we have like 4 different groups checking everything. So if it's not found, it's not there.
Okay, good.
We had some trouble getting the reports, and we're working on that. But I would say I was up in the attic. I've been around the building. I am personally satisfied, although I had a couple of questions. But I think, and I'm going to badmouth the previous SEVA people, I think they were counting on the foam insulation covering everything. And what little might be there is going to be covered in foam insulation anyway. Not that it's a good practice, but I think the other people were counting on not remediating it at all and quickly get over it. And we've already had the town building inspector interrupt one of our construction meetings about their preparation for the insulation, that it wasn't to his satisfaction. So, like I've said in the past, we are getting the ultimate cooperation from all the town boards. I mean, he came into the meeting Tuesday and said, that building's not ready to get insulated. They prepping it, they wrap stuff so that the insulation doesn't get on it. He says it's not properly done. I would not accept it. And
That
did
was fire
start.
stopping. He did a fire stopping inspection, and there were some areas that needed to be addressed. He brought it to our attention, but he had also talked to Seaver about it, and they've come back and they've corrected that, which was the electrician.
My addition that I wanted, I'm sorry. you
That's
jump
good.
off.
Yeah, I'm good.
The addition I wanted to make is, this is the 3rd group from SEVA, and, you know, we're bringing them up to speed. I will badmouth the previous people. They, one guy went to New Jersey and doesn't even want to talk to them anymore, so the people who left must have left with a bad taste in their mouth, because they're not even helping the new crew. So,
That's why the new one leaves.
although they were very upright about, they made up this list that we've been talking about for 4 months of this, I call it a pre-construction punch list. We've been talking about it, and like I said, I thought the previous management was hoping to cover some of these mistakes.
Yeah.
But our inspection people, especially Ed, he goes around before every meeting and takes pictures, and he takes whoever happens to be manager of the week, takes them by hand, sticks their finger in the hole and says, this is wrong. And so finally, this new group, they've actually made up a list, and they're supposedly doing a list, but I lost a little faith this weekend because the screening on the fence, I happened to drive by going to a funeral, and the screening was coming out into the road, and that was on their list, and it was mentioned by Ed and by Steve that it should be anchored back down to the fence. I notified Steve, Steve notified them. They said they would take care of it immediately, and I will say no more about it. But I think the new group is very dedicated in helping us have a complete building on time. And again, it's a team. If we keep getting new teammates, we'll work with them. This team seems very much into what's going on, and we'll see what happens.
Good.
Yes.
Quick question, the PM pulled the permit, not the super? Do you have these backwards? Or he's the super as well?
No, what's occurred, that we transferred the name. The original group pulled the permit
No, I
under
understand that.
CSO.
But you said revised is under the project manager, not
Correct.
the site superintendent.
Correct.
Okay.
For Seaver.
So
For Seaver.
So I'm saying that the senior PM is the super as well, because he can't pull a permit unless he's a super. I just thought you worded him, put him on the wrong line.
No,
If he's licensed, it's fine.
He's licensed, he's a PM, and he's there
All
more, not all the time, no, more than just once for a meeting.
And then on your punch list, do you have it isolated, so what framing needs to be remedied that goes in insulated walls versus ones that are like interior walls? I mean, we don't have to wait for the whole list, but stuff that
No, we
only
don't-
impacts
We've
insulation.
had our lists for a long time. We told them that it's in your best interest to prioritize
Okay.
what your outside walls are,
Yeah,
not
okay.
only for framing, but there's some conduits that need to go
Okay, good.
in the walls.
So you can tell
And we-
which ones affect what,
Walk them through it a number of different times.
as Jim said, because we just try and cover it. Yeah, we took care of that, it's photo.
Hey Jim, does our building inspector attend the weekly construction meetings on Tuesdays or whatever they are?
Yes. Unless he's sick, he's been in and out sick, or unless he's got something else scheduled, but I would say he's there 3/4 of the time.
And he's welcomed in and out, even if he isn't doing some kind of final inspection, he can come in and just observe,
Yeah,
right?
he's on call, and he doesn't put it off. I'll tell you at the beginning, I had very little faith in the inspection department, because I had solar panels put on my house, and I waited 4 weeks for him to look at the frame. I don't know if it was him or if it was the previous guy, but when they finally, after me nudging the town hall a little bit, when he finally drove by and approved the permit so they could put the panels that were sitting in my driveway for 5 weeks on the roof, then I was sad, and I was afraid that was gonna carry over, but the present building inspector, the present health commissioner, I don't know what he's called, but
Board of Health Commission.
he's there all the time. He's been very good because he's more or less the paid maintenance man in the old town hall. So he's had a lot of input on locks, on septic, in fact, we mentioned the septic before. There was a discussion before you came in the room. We finally found where the water was coming from. Well, we think we found it. In my feeling that the septic system had never been looked at for the 15 years it was put in. Well, I'm saying it was 15 years ago. Somebody suggested it might have been put in by Wheaton when it was part of the primary school, but nobody knew the septic system was there. Same with the toilets. With the health agent had all the toilets, the inner workings of the inner toilets. He did them all in the town hall, and it just about stopped the water flow. So the town was losing, I don't know how many gallons of water a minute because of poor maintenance in the building, because we do have people that come in and do cleaning, and when there's a fire or whatever, when there's a light bulb out or something, somebody replaces it. But I think annual regular maintenance isn't really being done on the buildings, but that's not my problem anymore.
Just so you know, we have the weekly job meetings both in person and remote for those who can't necessarily make it to the job site but want to sit in because they got other things going on. So Nick Ifredi, Chris Honor, they attend some remote, and other times, you know, they're busy with their actual job, so.
Right.
But, you know,
And Mike-
the
Mike
communications
attends
are
those.
wide open.
Good. Great, thank you.
Moving on, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We've gone over here the furniture list and order and the amount. Right now, we're working to get a purchase order out to WB Mason as soon as possible. I've been working with Jen Reed on that, so that should be issued shortly. IT by the owner. We've had a couple meetings. We're continuing meetings. Ray Cord is involved in those also. Make sure that we get our our network equipment, our AV, telephone, fiber, and security. Mass DOT permitting. So, just to sort of give everybody a background on it, because I think we've talked about it before, but maybe not in detail. Mass DOT requires permitting on any work that's done adjacent to their road. 140 is a state highway. Adjacent to the road means water service, gas service, electrical poles that are in the right-of-way, and telecom poles that may be in the right-of-way. The responsibility for pulling or applying for a Mass DOT permit is with the utility or the entity that's doing the work. So in our case, the town had control of applying for the water and the curb cut permits only. Eversource, Gas had to apply for theirs, National Grid had to apply for theirs, and a latecomer to the pack was Verizon, has to apply for theirs. At this point, shortening the story a little bit, we've received the utility permit after a lot of discussions, and the water is in. That work is complete. Eversource got their permit and did their tap and disconnected the old gas line to the house, and that work is complete as far as the underground goes. National Grid Electric, that's been one that we've been keying on also. Obviously, as Jim said, that just came in on Friday from DOT. The telecom pole, I've been talking with Verizon. They're still not sure whether they have to pull a DOT permit or not, because they think there's another way that they can do it. I don't know whether that's true or not, but we're chasing them for that pole. Originally, we thought that since National Grid, our understanding was National Grid owned all the poles, that they would be putting in the telecom pole. That was not the case. National Grid came back to us and said, we're only doing the power. So we started working with Verizon in October. National Grid and Eversource, we started in January of last year. And this is how long it's taken to get through the DOT portion of it, besides their own approvals. So I sort of went back and I recapped all the various emails that were sent throughout the year. Emails to National Grid, there was 32 of them that were sent to 5 separate contracts at National Grid starting January 30th of 23, and we're going through this past Friday. We finally got the Mass DOT permit on Friday. The poll hearing, which we've also been pushing them to schedule, I guess is now coming up for potentially the next select board meeting. Apparently they have had requested the abutters list, which they have to notify abutters. I think that's a 300-foot or yard diameter from the work. As part of that, I've been in contact with the latest contact, or 3 contacts from National Grid, to tell them as soon as they get the poles approved, they put them in, make sure that they have the 300 kVA transformer put aside for our use, because the contractor's going to have the transformer pad ready. As soon as the poles go in, we're going to direct them to finish the duct bank and put the sweeps in, and get the primary wires pulled in. We can't wait another year for their work to be done. And I think we may have them in our favor at this point because of how long this has gone. It remains to be seen, but we're banking on National Grid coming through and putting this in, putting the transformer in quickly so that when Seaver's ready for permanent power, all the parts will be there. Eversource Gas, there was 14 emails that went on from January to December of this year. Verizon, so far 10 emails sent to 3 separate contacts at Verizon. That started in October. Permitting and pole approval is still ongoing. Mass DOT, there's 6 contacts from Mass DOT. We've sent 4 emails to them directly, and we had 1 meeting in September when we talked about the sidewalk that they're having us put in. In addition, State Rep Howard contacted DOT in October and then again in January. Now, I'm going to jump just for a second to the town hall. The town hall, we're not dealing with Mass DOT, it's not a state road. We're getting a transformer for the town hall on the 30th of this month. The one different factor in all of this is Mass DOT.
Yep.
And I think that's been the hang-up all along. There were, from what I understand through recent correspondence, that they've got addresses mixed up between the sites, whether that was National Grid or whether it was them. I'm not quite sure, but a lot of miscommunication / confusion with Mass DOT. And we experienced that ourselves trying to get the water utility permit. So, like I said, the town hall, completely different situation. We've been in touch with, we had Eversource Gas come out and lower a gas line, relocate a gas line, no issues. National Grid, like I said, came in, set a pole, did the overhead wiring. They're going to be setting a transformer in a couple days.
So how is Route 123 not a state road?
I wasn't gonna ask that question.
I'm just trying to figure it out, like, is somebody in charge of a different
I was
road?
thinking the same thing, but I was gonna throw that
There's a
out.
numbskull on 140, put them on.
I'll defer to Mike, I'm sure he's got the
West
front.
Main is a state road, but East Main is not.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Even though it goes all the way over the highway? And it's route all the way to Easton?
Yeah.
That's,
And we may have been okay on that even if it was because our site is so far off the road.
Yeah.
We're not in the right of way.
I figured that, but,
And their poles come in well past the fire station, goes into the back of the parking lot. Our new pole was behind the fire
well,
station.
that part makes
But
sense, yeah.
that's neither here nor there. We didn't have to deal with them.
That's just,
And if you think you're confused, you should have seen me trying to straighten this. It started out with 1 pole, it ended up 3 poles. Then somehow we got an address of 150 Old Colony Road, and I'm going, what is going on? But I surged forward, and we are where we are, so I guess I can't blame National Grid. Bob?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, Steve, you did a good job on recording when you did all this, sending permits and all, keeping contact with them. But do you ever get them to give you some dates on when they're gonna do their work? Huh?
Never happens.
Why?
Good.
They just show up.
They have to give you some dates.
Nope. They never do.
No, because they don't know when the Board of Select Board meet.
No,
To
I
give
think you're
them
talking about
permission.
after that.
Yeah, after that.
Yeah.
no, they
Well,
just show up.
I'm sorry, in this case, we did get a date when they're setting the transformer at the town hall.
Yeah, but that doesn't say the senior center.
No.
No.
And the town hall,
But I think they need to give you a date so that you know when they're gonna do their work.
We've asked that many, many times.
Why can't you go to Howard again and see if you can get,
I just want to get them there.
me too.
Oh.
We're gonna keep the ball rolling. If I have to, I will. But I mean, you know, the pole they set at the town hall. I mean, luckily it wasn't in anybody's way, but all of a sudden they were there one day.
when's
They
National
dropped-
Grid,
they
when's
dropped 2
National
poles
Grid
up.
gonna give you the poles and put them up?
But you gotta get the poll hearing first, which I'm assuming the select board will approve. And it should just be a straightforward
Because that was
exercise.
it done.
That's why, knowing all of this, that's why we started the process
I know.
a year ago.
But they haven't done anything to help.
Now, it's
you.
not always like this. I have other jobs where you get a delay, but this is by far the worst.
Are they angry about something?
So when is the selectmen's meeting that is scheduled to?
It'll be a week from this Thursday, I think,
February 1st.
February 1st. I mean, they always
The
approve the poll
application in
permits,
by
so.
Wednesday, it'll be on that agenda.
Perfect.
I just emailed her
I
that.
think they're looking at old plans.
And Bob, to maybe alleviate some of your fears, the last email that Steve sent to National Grid, he left nothing to speculation. I'm gonna read it, I'm sorry, but I have nothing else to do till midnight. Now that Mass DOT permit has been issued as of 1/19/24, please expedite the hearing with the Town of Norton Select Board for the 2 new poles. In addition, please ensure that the OH, which I don't know what it is, and the UG,
Underground.
must be underground, overhead and underground, wiring crews are ready. In other words, we could put up the poles and wait 6 months for the wiring crew, and that the 300 kilowatt KVA transformer is available for installation, because that's the other part of all this that we were told. And in my networking, I found out that their regional warehouses in Mansfield, owned by a Norton resident, and I won't go any further, but I probably will be renting a truck and a flatbed to get it out of the warehouse. We have the contractor install the remaining lengths of duct bank. The conduit sweeps as soon as the on-site pole is set. The transformer pad will also be ready. And with the weather getting better the end of this week, I was gonna mention at tomorrow's construction meetings that I would hope that they're ready during this warm spell, the probably the only February thaw, January thaw we're gonna get, that they could do some of the on-site where I know I'm only giving them a 2-day window and all that kind of crap, but,
No,
they'll get a heads up anyway. So that was Steve's letter to National, email to National Grid, so they know what's expected of them. I don't know if this went to my friend Steve that was on the meeting, because he was getting a little frustrated, although he seemed to bring up some information that we didn't have. While we were at the meeting, he was at home, I assume, but near the end of the hearing, he came up with like a work order number and some other stuff, and then was gonna get in touch with Mike for Friday morning for some more, and that probably was asking for the permits. I'm done, Steve.
Okay, so our next issue, the dedication plaque. There was some changes to the dedication plaque. I have it up on the screen. I think everything is squared away with the one exception of what I've circled, which was where LLC, which you have on the town hall. I just want to make sure that this is the last draft.
This is also another bane of my existence. You'll notice where the A is a town seal. There is not a clear-cut town seal to be found, although today I was gonna run around between the police department, the highway department, the fire department, to see who does their signage on their vehicles, to see if they have a clean, we need a clean, and Ed can tell you the terminology, town seal for them to make the thing, and Ed and I have discussed a Plan B, and I don't know if you want to discuss that now, or just let us approve it and we'll work on it as.
So we're looking for a vectorized file, which is what the graphics people need to work on their graphics and make that into a sign. So that's really what we need, is that vector file.
Yeah, I've gone to the school department, I've gone to other departments to try to find one. Town manager's office, every place, nobody has one, so.
And we're going to ask the contractor's signage subcontract to provide that. It'll be at an extra cost, but then the town will have it for
Forever.
forever.
Town will
And it's a nominal cost.
Actually, it'll be in my possession and I will rent it out at a certain amount of money. Going to the senior
There's
center.
gotta be one somewhere.
The image that's on our town website, that must have come from some kind of a file, right? JPEG? or-
Kevin,
The issue is it's literally that big.
Yeah, okay. When you
Yeah, when
expand
you
it, you
blow it
lose
up, it
the
gets blurry.
resolution?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But whoever posted it on here may have the original that could be used.
We,
You know who
we've
developed
asked
the
many
website?
times.
The webmaster.
trust me, I've knocked myself out
Looking
this
for it.
seal because
It's not atypical for what it's worth. Because that's how old most of these things
Just
are
put the
in
big N in
the
the
towns in
middle,
the
call
city.
it a day.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm saying, you know, take a last look at least from your end, and if that's good, then,
I'll take a motion to accept the copy that's up on the screen with the, we were all pretty happy with what it was, but passing it around, we found out that Vertex is an LLC, not an Inc. So we made that change, and that was about it.
Looks good. Welcome. I'll make a motion to approve the community center plaque as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, none, pass unanimously. Okay, Steve, next.
so, the next, conversation is the patio pavers. I know, Bob reached out and wanted to, make sure that he knew what the color was, the pattern. I think we're all sort of on the same page. Ed and Bob had recommended one color, which is water wheel gray, which I think you have the samples, and the standard pattern is a basket weave.
Yeah, some sample.
Chairman,
Yeah.
question. When I talked to the folks out there, they told me that there was a thinner paver that we could use. And he told me, it's that step. He told me that if there's no vehicles going over the patio, then you only need to use those thin ones. And those thin ones, I don't know what was spec'd. What was spec'd? What was
The
spec'd?
thick
Well,
ones.
Yeah, this,
Thick one, the thick ones?
Those are thin, or
Those are thin ones.
system, there's two systems. There's a system to go over a gravel base, and there's what they call a resurfacing system, which goes over something solid, which is what we're doing.
That's
We're
right.
pouring a slab, and this is a resurfacing system that
Did you,
that
what
was
was spec'd,
priced.
though, was my question.
This system.
Yeah.
That one?
This was a sample that we got, that was submitted, and
Okay.
it was in the trailer for
Okay.
that grid system, and then the brick inserts.
One reason,
that's what we were quoted.
yeah, the only reason I'm asking is that it's 30% cheaper for those than the thicker ones. So I just asked that question.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly check, make sure,
Okay.
but that,
That's what we get the price in.
yeah,
the thinner ones.
yeah. I mean, we'll double check.
So those are non-vehicle. Said
Yeah.
non-vehicle? So you just gotta make sure.
And they
that
use them on the roof, I guess.
if you ever do any maintenance to the building, make sure nobody has a lift on the back or something, because nobody will remember, you know.
So those are the thinner ones, Bob, and that's what they
Yes.
got the quote on.
Yeah. Okay.
We're not gonna get another 30%.
No, no.
That
Now-
was what they were quoted.
Yeah, right.
If you
No,
wanna
no,
hold up the
consider.
color that's being recommended, get that one.
The gray one.
That's what, you know, the Walpole has the red, which you've seen,
This one?
yes. That's what's recommended for this project.
Yellow building?
What,
Where's, you don't have the siding here, right?
why gray?
Because despite what these look like today, 5 years from now they're gonna fade. 10 years from now they're gonna be even lighter than that. And when the darker ones lose their pigment at a faster rate, they tend to turn pink. When that fades, it's gonna fade light gray.
They look like concrete.
These are there's not a lot of color choices. I think we got We got 4 of them here, and then
It says it doesn't.
the 5th one is,
They all say they don't, but they do.
They will. Everything fades.
I mean, we went and looked at Walpole's and those were 5 years ago.
It's on the north side of the building and it's got tree cover back there. So, you know, you don't have that. It's gonna fade at a different rate.
So it'll look like concrete, should be rubber.
Gotcha.
Kind of defeats the purpose of having put bricks, is to make them look like.
This is what happens when we don't use real brick.
That's his recommendation.
You can do whatever you like, but
Yeah,
I'm
he's
just
just telling
saying,
you what's gonna happen.
5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's not gonna look like the colors that you're looking at today.
nothing has been ordered yet.
Does the other one fade as bad?
That one that Jim has his hand on now is probably even worse.
This one will look like
What's that?
this one.
The-
This one will look like that one.
Right.
This one,
Any color one, yeah.
will that fade?
That'll fade, they'll all fade.
Yeah.
And what I got up
I
on
mean,
the
with the
screen
yellow
is
with the
that.
building, it makes a little more sense to have something a little browner, but to his point.
I mean, you know what I like, so, I mean, I like the red. I mean, I think this, we could have just gone with,
Do you have any places where this is already faded in one of those things?
And when we first discussed this with the landscape architect, that was actually their biggest concern with going with this synthetic paver, as opposed to a clay or a cement-based paver.
They don't fade.
You're right.
They get efflorescence.
I think while you're thinking,
That's a different issue.
I think it's interesting to note, this is what will be anchoring the pavers.
Yep.
They fit in,
Yep.
and this will go on top of the concrete.
And then all the joints get sanded.
And then, at Walpole, theirs went on gravel, I believe.
I think that's correct. We're on concrete.
When do they need to know the color?
When do they need to
When do
know
they
the
need to
color?
know?
That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know the lead time on that.
They were talking like 8 weeks, they weren't a long lead time.
Well, when can you decide
Okay,
what
when
the
it
color
turns
is?
pink?
That's what
Tomorrow when the light, she puts them into the building.
Only because, you know, this is not gonna be, they're not gonna be doing this in March. I mean, it's gotta be proper weather, but I don't wanna run into, well, maybe the question is, what's color number 1 and what's color number 2? And we can find out if there's no lead time then. But you never know nowadays.
How about
Color one.
salting and sanding that material for winter?
Oh no, you have to take them all out.
Don't do it, is that why you should?
And number them, so
Don't
you
do
put
it.
them back in the right spot.
Yeah.
They'll come with, you know, maintenance recommendations as what you can
Is that
use
a
and what
choice?
you can't.
Just let them melt, no one's gonna go out in there in winter anyway.
We'll take the marketing pictures before it fades, so
Yeah, there
we're
you
good
go.
with anything you pick. But you gotta live with it.
These the same?
yeah, those are.
Yeah.
My recommendation, if you wanna see them in daylight, natural light, and next to the color of the building, that's just my opinion. but- And is it her selection,
I know.
she can get whatever she wants, do we have to vote on it?
I
See
think
the way it's building.
my interpretation is we take her recommendation
For a vote.
into consideration, and we take a motion on the color, and that's approved.
So it'd have to be next meeting then, if you wanna think about it.
You wanna do some research between now and the next meeting? Call some people, call Walpole, check out other
I mean, we've
locations?
been to
Yeah,
Walpole
Walpole,
recently and they, I mean, and they're still look
I mean,
beautiful, they still look,
If I remember the building, I don't think it's south facing though where they are,
It's not.
no. And
On the
ours
north side.
definitely will be right in the southern part of the building.
You're gonna get the afternoon sun baking on that.
Well, I think if Bob did some research already, I'm willing to give him some more work.
I mean, how do you do research if they're,
He
they're
can
literally.
find out where other places have the brick,
Just search Google.
besides Walpole.
No, you call their local rep, he probably can tell you. which one he sold to who. They usually.
But they're not gonna tell you what's faded.
They won't, but they'll only tell you, we sold this one to this many locations and this one, and you drive
They're
for
not gonna
yourself
tell
and
you
you
that,
find
that
out.
won't make the list.
He's not gonna tell you which one's the south-facing.
But just
you know.
do an AI search and just put the manufacturer's name,
Yeah.
does this fade, and see what pops up. on
Chat
Google.
GBT,
You might get
how
lucky.
much will this fade?
Okay, I'll accept the motion to table this to the next meeting.
I'll second it.
Take a picture of that or something.
So just, I know everybody's concentrating on the color, but that is the recommended pattern, which
I mean-
I think should be, because if we start getting into anything fancy,
That's fine.
that's what we put out there, that's what they price. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that's.
Beth, do you have two
That's what we-
preferences? Or,
She got
is
one
it two,
preference.
you like the red one, but
She likes
do you
the
have a
other.
secondary one? And then if you get a chance, you can say, I like this one, you can tell us which ones, we'll know, we can vote.
We'll give her between
You
now and
wanna
the
wait
next
another
meeting.
month?
Well,
Give me the whole
I
thing.
mean, we could do a virtual vote, I
I
guess.
mean,
Can you wait till the next meeting, Ed?
I have no idea what the lead time
Oh.
is, so I can't really answer that
I thought it
question.
wasn't extravagant.
I mean-
like
It's
it was
probably gonna be the
like
last
eight
thing
to
that'll
12
be done, the
weeks.
one of the last.
We don't need
We
these
would
till
hope.
May.
I wouldn't wait much beyond the next meeting.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
put it that way,
yeah, only-
You want these released in March, so.
because I don't want to hear from
March,
them,
April,
well,
May.
you know, we're not gonna be able to.
My eavesdropping is that you like, your second choice is another red, you're not even
No,
considering the gray.
no, I mean, I don't like these brown ones, so I would either go the red or, is that Village? What is
Village?
that?
Got a
Little
Village sample?
olive, redwood. It's pink.
No,
What color's the furniture?
because it's lousy.
I'm still waiting for a motion to table this.
Yes, I made the motion.
Or the gray is fine, either way,
Well,
honestly.
Bob made the
Motion
motion,
table.
Kevin seconded it?
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think we need
Okay,
to.
all those in favor of tabling it, and we will make our final decision
Next meeting.
next meeting.
That's fine.
I only see two hands.
The only reason I ask is the
There's
furniture's
four of
gray,
us,
and
five
then
of
gray
us.
on the ground,
Okay,
it's all
thank you.
gray, I don't know color furniture.
Unanimous.
Get concrete sidewalk coming into the
Um,
driveway anyway.
Yeah.
My recommendation to Bob, I have the sample that has the engraving in it,
Find out.
and the engraving looks horrible. That it should be deeper and the letters should be a little bit, but I'll discuss it with you. But,
Who engraved it?
Thank you.
not my job, you're checking on that.
Okay.
Okay, Stephen, go ahead.
Did you vote on the table?
Yes, it passed
I'm sorry,
unanimously.
I missed it. The only other thing I have is schedule, right now, and we've been talking with Seaver about giving us another update to their schedule, but they're showing substantial completion April 21st and final completion May 21st. You know, that sounds good, but we really want to know exactly when, and if they can make that, I know they're trying to push for it, and fine, so we'll keep everybody apprised of,
So those are
The
the
schedule.
contractual dates? Okay.
yeah, we're close. So there hasn't been really any update on change orders at this point. They're still trying to untangle a few things. They are starting to send some of the old PCOs that we've been looking for. So this is the same slide as before. Nothing is really changed, but just for you know, based on the total to date and the construction value, we're about 2% of on change orders, and 70, almost 70,000 or 66,000 of that is for bricks. So,
And it doesn't include some of the people.
right, and yeah, with these credits coming back, there's a lot of things that are going to alter that.
At this time, I'm gonna ask the clerk, I believe Brian is the vice chairman. I'd like to step down as chairman because I wanna make a motion,
Okay.
so,
You can,
Okay, make a
Just
motion.
temporarily for
Yeah,
the
just
next 5
temporarily,
minutes?
so I
you
can
make
make
this
a motion.
You can entertain a motion,
You
somebody
can.
else can move it, you don't have
Yeah.
to step down, that's not necessary.
Okay.
Just
well,
say, I
then
wanna
we won't
entertain
do
a
it.
motion, and then somebody will move it.
Thank you for the confidence in what I'm just about to do.
I'm not saying I'll move it yet, Jim, we'll have to see that.
In seeing what's left in the contingency, I would entertain a motion that the brick money come out of the building's budget and not seek a donation from the senior center council. If Steve has no big problem.
I don't know.
I'd entertain that motion.
You mean you move it?
Yeah, move it for discussion.
Bob, if you don't second this, I'll smack you.
Second.
So we have a lot more money to spend, obviously.
Well,
Well,
Still have
no,
like
you have $1
No,
million.
I get that, I get
You have
that.
$1 million in the contingency fund, I'm asking for 66,000.
Yeah, no, I agree with it, I'm just wondering if the timing is too soon.
Well, we're 50% complete,
I
Yeah.
think we're okay.
I think
We're
we're
okay?
fine.
Okay.
and having discussed it with a couple other people, they're somewhat confident we will still remain in budget, so.
We better be very confident. We don't go over
Well,
budget
well,
because of this.
I'm staking my reputation on time, on budget, and I'm the one that really wanted to make the motion, but I'm pretty confident.
We're out of the ground, and that's what a lot of our risk has been, so I think we're fine, and we're at closing stage of the building. So I think most of our risk would be limited at this point. Only up, wild card is the whole transformer thing, but that's not the scene anyway, it's just a timing thing.
Okay,
$50,000 grant.
Yeah.
you're on, you're on, you're on, you're on.
So just clarification,
Sure.
the $50,000 grant that the COA got was gonna go towards this. Are you saying it's the difference between the 66 and the 50, or the whole 66?
I didn't know the 50,000 was going.
I thought that
Did you know that?
Well,
Well,
can
That's
I,
what we talked about at previous
Yeah.
meetings, yeah, because it was,
Jim, can I, a question if I may? How do we stand with your stove? Remember that?
yeah,
Because you still need to buy that stove, correct?
I thought the stove was part
No,
of
the commercial kitchen was
Yeah.
no,
included
that was
included.
included.
And
the-
included.
in
As
the.
an
And
alternate?
that alternate.
The
Was it
accepted
accepted?
it.
Seaver.
Okay. All right, just wanna make
Seaver-
sure.
Okay.
I just don't wanna forget
No.
something.
It's in the
Okay, I
basket.
believe, everybody done?
Yep.
I believe when we did the original bid, we had a certain number of alternates. The commercial kitchen was one of the alternates.
I mean, except-
It was included in the final bid. So the commercial kitchen is getting wired and everything else, and I don't know what to call it, the budget for the senior center includes the commercial
There's actually
kitchen.
2 alternates because we broke it up. Alternate 1 was the gas range and 2 dishwashers.
Yeah.
And then the third, the alternate 3 was the additional kitchen equipment.
But it's
So we
already
accepted them both.
included.
Okay, just wanna
So-
make sure, it's been a while.
So back to the
So,
original deep in the weeds.
so my
Question.
motion I'm entertaining to move forward is to pay for the whole thing.
Right.
Pay for the 66, we have enough for the contingency, and then leaves them enough for money, whatever, all the miscellaneous stuff they're gonna need, that is not in this budget.
And they can be our
Dishes,
lifeboat,
pots and pans, and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff that's
Yeah.
not built into this.
they can be our lifeboat if on Memorial Day we find out we're $2,000 short.
That's right.
We'll
Just-
ask them for a
Actually,
donation.
just to clarify, we have a line item for kitchenwares.
But I mean, there's
in
gonna
the-
be something,
In the
yeah,
total budget.
there'll be something on this. Oh, we don't know if the entertainment budget, I mean, telecom.
Okay, I am now totally,
No, you're good, Jim, you're not totally, you're good.
It's
But
been a
one
while
more
I'm
comment.
totally confused. We have a motion on the floor that
Accepted.
the brick come out of the budget for the senior center and not accept the donation from the senior center council or whatever it's called.
Council of Aging.
They'll still accept it.
Are those in favor, please raise
No,
your
I just have
hand.
one question for them, I'm gonna approve it, but the purpose of the donation that you received, what was it was it earmarked for this purpose? Like I'm just,
It's earmarked for the project.
okay, for whatever you
Yeah,
feel,
the-
you deem you wanna spend it on.
This was beaten to death before because I thought it was meant to decrease the cost of the building before your arrival, and I got corrected.
I just wanna make sure
Yeah, that
from
was
their
the main
perspective that whoever donated the money isn't gonna be upset that it's not being
actually
used for
coming from the
this.
It's an
state.
earmark grant.
It's generic
State,
use.
state.
No
It's a
particular-
grant from the
yeah.
state.
Also get a state grant. But when you applied for it, you didn't say for back pavers, for example, you
No.
just put general use.
No.
No, we didn't,
We didn't apply. Senator Feeney just went, hey, we got $50,000, you can have it.
Nice. So, yeah, you
I'm
wanna go,
getting dizzy, don't do that, go ahead.
so you can go for the vote, Jim, and we can
No.
take it?
No, hold on, we've got another question.
Wasn't there a timeline when that money had to be spent? Is that the thing you're talking about?
yeah.
June 30th? So if we do this, you're gonna spend that money before June 30th?
Good
Okay,
point.
now we can go to a vote. Does everybody know what the motion is, should
Make a
be?
motion to absorb the cost for the
Right.
66.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Unanimously passes, thank you very much. Steve, you're
Thank
still
you.
up.
Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just make sure you
Go
spend it
back to
before
the
June
chairman.
30th.
Yeah, you're gonna lose it.
Anything else in the scene?
Right?
Now my wife will talk to me?
I left it up to.
Then we should, then we should under the vote. All right. Are we to the town hall now? Right.
Are there any other questions before we go to the town hall? Hold on, there's another meeting going on.
I have a general question for both projects.
All right, town hall is next.
Before we go on, is the keying and everything all been straightened out? Everything's done keying wise? Everything's good? Just asking. Now's the time to start talking about it. That's all.
Yeah, some of it's, town hall is in the process, but everything
Okay,
is
it's moving though.
moving. Yeah.
Perfect.
Ralph, did you have a question?
I did. If the poles and the transformer don't arrive, is it possible that you could set up a generator that would help as Plan B? Let's make believe that Foxy Loxy, the sky's falling, and we don't get Plan A, we don't get the poles, and we don't get the transformer in time because it wasn't my fault. Do we have a Plan B? So we don't have another delay. A pad with the generator on it to do what you need to do on site.
At least how about a temp generator?
That'd be an awful large generator, but they do have whole building generators. Because we have to do testing, we have to do commissioning, we have to start up all the equipment.
Really depends on timing.
Yeah, and we'd have to go and we'd have to sit down with the building department and make sure that they would be okay with it. Because then you have to tie your life safety into it somehow. And life safety is being run by the generator, so there may be some cross wiring that would have to be done. This would, I mean, we can certainly pursue it, but there'd be some design costs involved in this.
I
would
think when
Rewire
I
the
hold
building
up the construction meeting tomorrow morning over this whole pole situation, I will make them aware, and Steve takes minutes, and it's put in the minutes that, ask them if they have a Plan B, if they don't get the power, when we wanna start powering up stuff.
I can answer that question right now.
I know
It's the
you
owner's
can't,
responsibility.
but I think the purpose of the question is to put it in front of the contractors so they're aware, that we're aware, that there has to be a plan, there should be a Plan B. I know that they can't even deal with Plan A right now, but
Plan B is complicated without knowing duration.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we're talking about a week, or are we talking about 4 months? So it's a very difficult thing to try and pin down from anybody's perspective.
well, I think that the purpose of the inquiry was to make the contractor aware that there could be a potential problem.
I
So it
think they
goes
are
on
aware, and
record.
I think the bigger issue, quite frankly, is that we need to all have tunnel vision with respect to this, because as far as the contract is concerned, the building dates that we're talking about, if all of the work is done and they can't turn anything on, right, that's the goal. Then we'll deal with that if it happens. There's no reason the site work can't be done and the building in and of itself in its entirety can't be complete. What can't happen is nothing can be started, turned on to test, to commission,
But
to
that's
do
not-
all those other things. But if everything else is done, that's a different conversation.
But that's not part of the goal of the contract, is to get power to the building?
Again, we're tackling what's in front of us with what we know, and in all honesty, we just found this out Friday. This new group is just getting up to
Anyway,
speed.
don't
We
they-
gotta give them some time to focus on the tunnel vision of Plan A. Get everything done that's in your control.
Well, I wanna give them another rock to put in their
No, no, no.
backpack to worry about, that's all.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but permanent power is the owner's responsibility, not the contractor's. So don't give them any ammunition. Just tell them when they need to know. If they need permanent power by April 1st, we'll deal with it when we get close to April
I
1st.
want a building, I don't want
I-
a fine of
It's
$2,000
a
a
chess match.
day.
Don't give them more ammo.
It wouldn't be though.
As long as their feet are held to the fire,
Keep moving.
that's the way I would run the company. You made a commitment on the poles, you lost the numbers, you lost the contracts, there's too many people involved. And I come to the meeting and I find out that the entire punch list group is gone. We got a new one. So these are all things that normally happen, could happen, not normally, but could happen in today's world. But we're the ones who are suffering. And seniors don't need to be handled that way, truly. They put their energy and their money into it, they approved it. Now they gotta come up with the money, and all they're getting to hear is delay, delay, delay. So, but that's on you
Anybody said
guys.
that.
Right.
No,
And
delay.
just to clarify, the poles are not the contractor's responsibility.
The DOT is not carrying the
That's the
backpack.
dividing line.
It's a
right
third
there.
party issue.
Yeah.
The DOT isn't the
Then-
source.
Does it go like this again? It's his fault?
The owner,
The owner. Who's the owner?
town of
We
North.
are.
Yeah. That's why we're pushing to get National Grid to get the poles in.
Agreed. Agreed. And you're doing.
And the
everything in your
transformer that
power.
goes with it
What
also.
I'm hearing tonight, doing everything in your power. Could ask for no more.
Okay, if nothing else, it'll be in the minutes that, in this minute, that Mr. Stefanelli asked the question. And at least the people around this table are aware of it. I'm upset that I want a building that the seniors can go into, and if it doesn't have power,
Can't go in.
and, you know, I know we'll probably get, I'm more confident tonight than I was last Tuesday, okay? Now we're waiting on the selectmen. I can't ask them to have a special meeting tomorrow to approve 2 poles. Maybe I could, I don't know, but,
Selectmen don't have anything yet, so you're not waiting on us yet.
okay, that will be met, oh, that's.
They get an application in by Wednesday.
So I'm gonna send an
It'll be
email
on
to
the
my
February 1st
National
agenda.
Grid crew to
Telling
say
them that.
that their application has to be in by by what time?
Wednesday at 2 o'clock.
Close of business? 2 o'clock.
And I will be in the
We have
town
to-
hall.
We
to-
have to advertise for 7 days, so. And all the-
I was
all
gonna
the
say-
notices.
They know that, because they do it all the time.
I was gonna say I'll be in the town hall to ask to be put on the agenda should we not make all the deadlines, but I still will be asked to be on the agenda. They'll just love it, but I'll be there.
So that's holding their feet to the fire that you're going to get that particular issue in front of them that they have until Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Otherwise, it goes to another 7 days or beyond that. That's the kind of thing that I like to hear. That I know you're on top of it to this point, but when we made calls, I'm sorry, when Mr. Slattery made calls to our reps, we put the heat on the reps, and luckily Steve Howard, our representative, did not drop the ball, and he got us the correct numbers for the work orders and procedures and purchase orders that were there. The fellow from Verizon gave us the wrong numbers. So we were in la-la land, or as they do in New York, they say blah, blah, blah. That's where we were, blah, blah, blah. And
Okay, moving on to the town hall.
Okay. Town Hall.
Yes, please.
Progress since our last meeting, for the Town Hall, they've done the framing on the second floor walls, roof trusses, and plywood sheathing. It's all completed. They're in the process of doing the framing punch list. This is the same framer that is working for Seaver, so they've been going back and forth between the two projects. Windows and the air vapor barrier has been installed. Roof underlayment / ice and water has been started. And just to sort of go back to a question that was brought up on that, we have been taking, we have a moisture meter on site. We've been taking moisture readings to make sure that we are under 15%, and we brought all of that up to the roofing contractor last Tuesday when we had the pre-installation meeting with him. And he also has to certify that the surface that he's putting the vapor barrier down is proper. Siding and trim has started. Fire protection, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical rough-ins have just started. HVAC equipment was delivered and rigged up into the attic. Precast curbing was delivered. That may seem premature, but essentially what the site contractor was told is if you don't accept your delivery now, you may not have it in the spring when you want it. So they had real estate, they've taken up real estate with curbing, and we have heard that before, especially with granite. This is precast, but if you see it there and wonder why, that's why.
Plus they can peck away at it too.
Yeah, we know what they get.
A little warmer, they can peck away at it.
Septic field installation has continued. They've been a little hampered by weather, and they've got a test they have to redo, but civil engineer's been out there witnessing it. They essentially have all the branch lines in and the stone in, but they haven't been able to put final cover on it. They started the building perimeter downspout drainage, and they've got temporary close-in of the entry walls in order to start temp heating. They do have a temp heater there. M. O'Connor is about 27% complete with the project through the end of December. Photo documentation for tonight. Going back to the beginning of January, we've got framing the front door entry on the left. On the third, you've got they were doing prefabbing of the framing for the dormers on the ground, and then putting those up on the building pre-built. Also beginning of January, photo of the septic field. This shows the branch lines. Photo on the right is the attic catwalk framing where the mechanicals are. Next photo on the left, that's some of the mechanical units that are set up in that attic space and protected with poly. Photo on the right is some of the framing on the second floor. Next photo on the left is fire protection piping running down the first floor, but will be above the ceiling. Photo on the right is some of the light gauge metal framing on the partition walls on the first floor. Next photo on the left is some of the electrical rough-ins on the first floor. Photo on the right is the temporary heating unit, that fire unit. Propane is the fuel. Next photo on the left is a typical window unit. Photo on the right is the worker installing the drainage around the perimeter for the downspouts. Next photo on the left is the west elevation, that's on the library side. Photo on the right is part of the roof that they've got the underlayment on, which again is on that west side before the weather came in. Next photo on the right is a photo of the front of the building. Photo on the right is our the initial stack of precast curbing. Some more came in after that photo was taken. We're getting more towards, this is the photo taken on the 18th of some of the interior framing at the first floor. You get utilities, you get temporary lights. Photo on the right is your sprinkler on some of your metal framing. Again, recent photos. Then on the 19th, you get the ABB installation being installed around the windows. Photo on the right is hollow metal door frames are starting to be installed. That happens to be on the first floor. And that's it for photo documentation. Schedule look ahead for the town hall. We're going to continue framing the second floor interior walls. They're going to be doing their framing in concrete punch list. They're going to continue with the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection rough-ins. Continue installation of the roofing underlayment. Then start the roof shingles. Continue with siding and trim. Continue with the septic system and start the temp heating. Any questions on progress or look ahead?
I'd like to say they're doing a good job. Yeah, yeah.
So far?
And that's the site that had all the giant rocks in the way.
Did have some left, yes. Other issues, FF&E, the furniture, we've had numerous meetings on the furniture. It's currently out for final design and pricing, and we did have Chris Zahner gave a very comprehensive listing of existing equipment, mainly shelving and file cabinets that had the possibility of being used from the old town hall, which are being looked to see if they can be incorporated or not. Schedule, right now they're on schedule for their latest update. IT, again, we've had some what I call IT meetings, but they're networking, audiovisual, telephone, fiber, and security. The audiovisual package is being sent out for quotes. Most likely this week. We'll get some numbers back on that. It's a much more robust system than the seniors center because of the select board. Change orders, we've gone over the first 4 change orders before. We do have change order 5 that we're going to be finalizing with them, but I figured I'd show. We've got 5 PCOs within that change order, totaling $20,629.52. PCO 21R, there was a revision to the wall base within certain rooms. Some of the base called for vinyl, which it really should have been wood, and vice versa. So there was some credits and adds, and that ended up totaling $1,452.33 as an add. PCO 22, just mentioned rock excavation. They get some additional open rock, which is at a unit price based on cubic yardage, and that was $11,055. PCO 23R, additional panic buttons were requested in certain rooms. We had some in the base contract. Did we end up with how many additional?
There's a bunch. 12,
Yeah.
I want to say.
Those are like offices?
Yeah.
Are they the Bluetooth ones or they're hardwired?
The hardwired.
Yes.
What's a pain in the ass?
So that was $2,706.35, an owner request.
Do those mount on the wall or under the desk?
Their
They're under the
their
desk.
desk. Yes.
That's a nightmare. I just went through it, sorry.
PCO 25, National Grid required an additional bollard at the transformer. That was $1,103.03. And then PCO 26 for electrical changes for antenna conduit from the OC, which is room 137, which was an owner request. That was $4,312.81. So our total to date on change orders, if we adding this up, and we will have some more, is $82,172. So we're at like 0.5% of the construction costs for changes on Town Hall.
10%.
You said there'll be more. I don't see the removal of the trees from the wind damage. That'll be,
That'll be on
added.
him.
next month we'll see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that shouldn't be that crazy.
What was that, about 8,000?
No, I'm saying 5, 6,
I don't
maybe.
remember the number.
I thought it was a little higher than that.
That was just emergency T&M, right, just get it done?
Well, yeah, we checked, the DPW was
Out of it.
spread out all
All
over.
straight, anyway.
So it just made sense they were there, and they actually,
Makes sense.
it landed on a couple structures which had to be replaced too. They
Oh,
weren't installed yet.
concrete ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Will that be in that same change order? Okay. I mean, 10% is pretty good for 25% of the way through. Yeah.
So, you know, this is nothing we have to vote on because it's well under the limits.
Yep.
And what we're doing is, I mean, these aren't going through the first time, we're going through them. If it's mechanical, electrical related, GGD is reviewing them, we're reviewing them, making sure markups are correct, hours aren't too excessive, or any questions that we may have on things. So, they're being vetted. So, we also, I recently got the dedication plaque for the town hall. And I think this is pretty much just in line with the senior center, except differences for is the general contractor. And again, the seal would be a vector file.
I believe I sent a change to Ed today, in that this is going into town hall. I thought if I have chairman after my name, it would be appropriate to have chairman after Mr. Snyder's name, in that he is the chairman while the town hall was being built, and probably will be when it's dedicated. And I thought it only politically correct to do it.
So that would be on both dedication plaques.
No. You had to ask that question? No, it's not on the other one.
It isn't?
I sort of
Okay.
obviously deleted it because that's the senior center and this is the town hall and this is his working structure and
Got it.
whatever. You should be happy it's on one.
So you're putting chair next to Kevin Snyder.
Chairman.
Chairman or chair?
Chair. Should you be chair?
Chairperson.
There we go. We're gonna start beating down into the weeds. It already has chairman and my name. Why not put chairman after his name?
Should be chair.
No.
Should be chair, man.
Chair. Chair. Chair on both.
Sofa.
Fine.
You go back to the senior center and change that. Chair.
With the additions
Change the
and
COA.
subtractions, is everybody clear on what they are?
Hold on.
Kevin Snyder, chair.
What about
Yes.
him?
What about who?
You.
It's going up for a vote. I'm only one person.
James Slattery, chair.
Man. I'll talk to the guy that's doing the work at the foundry in the brass. Okay, seeing what the changes are and additions and deletions, I'll accept the motion to accept the plaque for the town hall.
I'll make a motion to accept. Looks good to me.
Okay.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. I should vote against it, but I won't. Well, oh, you can't vote, that's right. Okay, it passes unanimously. Moving on, Stephen.
The only other thing I have is I want to make sure that the town is 110% satisfied with all the services that we give. So I am bringing in another project manager to start working on both projects. That was going to be starting this week. I will still be involved, but you know they'll be doing some of the things that I've been doing all along, probably taking meeting minutes and going over certain things. But I'm going to be implementing that just to make sure that Everybody's happy with our services.
I have one question. Speaking of that, 50%, we gotta do a decam rating for at 50%. That's matching the law. So we gotta get that done.
You don't have to, you can, you
I-
can opt to do
I
it.
would disagree that if you don't do the 50% and you do the final, they can reject it. I've seen it happen. Do the 50% is my recommendation. That's just, it gives them a chance to get better. It's not a bad thing. It's just my opinion.
Good.
The DCAM ratings, I don't know if you, somebody will.
Anybody else? Okay, who wants to be the person who makes the motion for adjournment?
The next meeting.
The next meeting will be, and Mike, don't leave, I have to talk to you.
Uh-oh, busted.
Please, don't.
Roughly the 22nd?
26 or
26. Oh yeah, I think of February.
26?
What do we have in
February?
How about February 26th?
Yeah.
Going once?
Yeah.
Going twice? It is February 26th.
All right.
At the new senior center?
No, on top of pole number 1562. We'll all sit on top of the pole.
All right, I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Second from somebody?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you very much.
You're gonna
See
be
you
here
next
again,
week.
right?